morning, but how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. So I have a list of questions for you, if that's okay.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
all right, so let me get to it. So the first question is, how long have you been in real estate now?
I checked before our meeting today because I forgot. Sometimes I think it's like 8 years. Sometimes I think it's an eternity. It's about to be 8 years in October. So I got my license in 2016.
So you're like a vet. You've been in it for a while now.
I don't know what's considered a vet because it's all relative. I
Right.
consider a vet someone that's been doing this for like 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah,
That's a
they
real.
exist. I've only been in it for 6 months now, so I'm still a rookie myself. What
Oh,
made
awesome.
what made you get into real estate?
Hmm. I was in I was working for like an export import company doing some sort of like sales. It wasn't the same as real estate, it was more like inside sales. And I had connected with a friend of mine that was in the real estate industry. He was doing more like luxury high-end sales.
Uh-huh.
And I honestly just thought it would be like cool and glamorous and fun because his lifestyle looked pretty. I apologize. That's my CRM calling.
Oh, go ahead. You could. It's okay.
How do I get out of it? Hold on. Okay, I just got out.
No.
Uh, Let me log out of my CRMs because it's
Which
gonna.
CRM do you use?
Use Go High Level currently for my business, so it's
Is
a
that
very robust CRM system. I don't think it's specifically tailored towards like realtors. It's more. There's a lot of automations that you can do within
Hmm.
the system, landing pages, so it's very robust.
And
For a
what's the monthly fee on that, if you don't mind me asking?
I have to get back to you on that because
Okay.
I have two separate companies and it's all kind of built into one. So I have
Uh,
to check, yeah, because I have an investment company and we run some stuff through there too. And then I have the realtor company. So it's all just kind of bundled into one big
uh,
fee. But
are you the head of the investment company, or are you a member?
I have a partner. We're 50-50 partners on it.
Ah,
Actually, we met through just being a realtor and doing the realtor transactions. He was
uh-huh.
a lender for a long time, and then we had been doing business together for forever. So we just decided it made sense once we figured out we wanted to do more investing to work together because we already kind of knew the synergy of how we
Right,
worked. And
right.
it was just a good experience. It's familiar. I already knew how things were going to work wise. Yeah.
So he's also a realtor.
He is an investor. Sorry, he's a lender, investor,
Oh,
and
I see, I see.
he also has his real estate license. He doesn't really use it. He's
Uh,
more of just on the lending side of things. Yeah, he's been a lender for over 20 years.
and which brokerage are you a part of?
Broker Nation Real Estate is the name of the company.
Broker Nation. Okay. And what is the brokerage fee? Is it 30%? Is it 40% with them?
It's at 100%. So yeah, it's at 100%. I pay a transaction fee and then the clients also pay a transaction fee.
Yeah, it's the same with so I'm HomeSmart and we pay an $800 transaction fee. So we
Mm.
keep 100% and we give the broker $800. It's the same with you guys.
It's a little bit more competitive. We pay a 495 fee per file plus 395. So I guess when you add it up, it
It's
does
about, yeah, it's maybe a
add
little bit more. Yeah, about the
up.
same.
Hmm.
So interesting. So yeah, because the average realtor company takes like 30%, 40%. So it's really nice to be a part of like some one that just takes a small transaction fee, especially with the times they're getting harder, like with NAR lawsuit and everything. What do you think is going to happen with the NAR lawsuit? What do you think will be the outcome of all this?
It's already happening because I have listings. I do a lot of business still on the residential side.
Uh,
And so the process is a little bit different now. We'll have agents reach out and ask us if we're offering out compensation. And then we have the option of disclosing, yes, we are, or disclosing exactly what we're offering. There's, as a listing agent, I think it's smart to be strategic. You don't have to fully say what your client is offering. You can just acknowledge, hey, we're offering a compensation. We
mhm.
will review all offers of compensation. So make sure you include it in your offer. And then my client has the option of saying yes or no. But I will tell you that we are open to compensation. Because what happens is once you disclose like a 2% or a 3%, you're kind of putting yourself in that box. What if the buyer's agent only negotiated 2% or 1% with their client, and now you're forcing your client to pay that additional like percentage? So it's you have to be strategic with it. So if it's a deal that we're trying to move, or it's like we've had on the market for a long time, then the compensation is a marketing tool that you can use to bring people in. Hey, we're offering 3% commission, or we're offering 3% plus a bonus. So it's on the listing side, it's about being strategic and really using it to your client's advantage and to the advantage of the deal. Like, is the commission going to give me a buyer? So do I need to use this to push the deal and market the deal? Or if I have multiple people interested in multiple offers, can I just have them give me what they want, and then my client can kind of choose what the best option is? So it's on the listing agent side, and then on the buyer agent side, it's about learning to really present your value to buyers and get them to agree to a fee. So I think buyers are going to have to learn more of that skill set of like presenting, showing options to your buyers and really selling them that. As a listing agent, you already know how to do that, because as a listing agent, you're trained on that. Like,
Right.
the way you get the listing is by meeting with them, presenting value, having some sort of presentation, and then they have to connect with you and really see the value that you can bring. As a buyer's agent, it was a lot easier. You get a referral, you start showing them houses, and you could know very little and still get away with getting a transaction. So I think buyers are going to ask more questions. Like, as a listing agent, when you go on a listing presentation, they'll ask you like, what are you going to do differently? What type of marketing plan do you have in place? Like, why should I work with you? Like, those are the types of questions that consumers are going to start to ask the buyers agents now, which aren't nothing wrong with that. They're just going to
Right.
make educated decisions, which is good. And as a buyer's agent, if you're not willing to level up, then you're gonna end up doing more fees for less money, essentially. I could see agents doing like a flat fee. Hey, I'll do it for 1%, or I'll do it for 1,500. So you either grow and your skill set needs to expand and grow, or you're gonna shrink and you're gonna start doing these deals for less money. It's either one or two, or you're gonna get out of the business. So there's a
Yeah.
few ways.
Well, that's the thing. Like, do you think that this will cause a lot of agents to quit, and this will cause maybe less agents in the market overall? Like, what do you think? Do you think that's going to happen?
Absolutely, it's already
Only the
happening.
strong will survive, right?
It's
So,
already happening. I'd like to stay in the know of like what's going on in the real estate industry. So I'm a part of like different groups, and I'm a part of like different Reddit threads. I'm on Reddit way too much lately. But you're seeing like the energy of how realtors are communicating. There's a lot of people that currently are not in the business or are transitioning into just getting a regular job because it's
oh,
a lot harder. I do think there's going to be a big, big, big shift of agents leaving the industry.
which is in a way kind of good because it's kind of less competition for the agents that stay in. So it's kind of good in that sense, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you are this, I've been doing this for I consider it does feel like a vet, because it feels like I've been doing this for such a long time. And I've gone through different levels of my business as far as like the type of client I was going after and the skill set that I had and the level of knowledge. And I found that I had to continually evolve, 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 evolve. If at a different phase of my business, it needed me to be a different person. So when I shifted to, well, I'm primarily doing buyers, but I want to primarily work with sellers. In that moment, I didn't have the skill set. I didn't know how to do a presentation. I didn't know how to sell myself. I didn't have a listing process. I didn't have a marketing process. So I had to evolve and grow. And I think that's just what the agents are going to start to realize. If I want to stay in this business, which can be really profitable, is you got to evolve and grow, and just the comfort zone thing. Get out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself, learn, go through those difficult conversations, because it's hard presenting. I think the biggest thing that's a concern for people when it comes to like doing a presentation is rejection, because everyone's scared of rejection. We all are, no matter how long you've been doing this, it's still something that's not pleasant. And then the money conversation is a difficult conversation for a lot of people. So having to tell the buyers, hey, you do have to pay me this much, and there's like the self-worth piece behind it, right? Because you have to convince yourself that you deserve the business and that you can provide value. And for a lot of people, there's like that self-worth piece where I don't feel worthy enough of asking for a 3% or a 2%. So there's like a lot of psychological things that go into play with sales itself. So it also requires evolving your skill set and working internally on yourself to be able to convince yourself that you can be successful. Yeah. It's
Yeah, you have to know your worth, and like it's sort of
yeah.
like this. There's like this fine line between like knowing your worth, but at the same time, if you charge too much, then they'll say no. Then you won't get any closings. So like you have to find that like healthy and intelligent middle ground right? Where you charge the right amount and you know how to say it and you're compassionate, right? You have to be a good speaker in that sense, right?
Right. What is the right amount, right? Like
Mhm.
that's a very it's all relative. Like what is the right amount? So the right amount is it's it's equal to the value that you can present to that person, right?
Uh-huh.
Because if you truly believe in the value that you're presenting, like if you're a badass buyer's agent, like you explain the process from A to Z, you're great at negotiating, and you know when the inspection period comes in, you're going to do everything to make sure that you're taking care of your client, that they're buying a house that doesn't have any big issues, that you're negotiating. Same thing with price. Like if you know your service is amazing, you have that belief, it's going to be a lot easier to ask for that 3% every single time. You don't need to. But if you're not fully sold on yourself and your capabilities, that's when you start to negotiate with yourself before negotiating with the client. Then you start to kind of, well, if I charge 3%, they may say no, so maybe I need to come in at 2. So it's a belief thing, right? It starts with you believing in it, then having the preparation so you can deliver that message confidently, and then you always go for the highest number. Now, is every listing 6%? No, right? So there's a lot of like real estate coaches, and I've been through different coaching programs. You don't always get 6%. So having that mindset of like, I'm only going to work with clients that give me 6%, or as a buyer's agent, 3%, it doesn't work all the time because situations are different. The amount of money that a person has is different, but you always start off high and then you make a business decision, right? Like, if they want to do 2%, do you feel like working with this client is going to be a process that is not going to create more work? Like, is this going to be a client that it's going to be enjoyable to work with? Like, okay, I'll do it for a discounted amount. But if you're, it's also goes back to the self-worth thing. Like, if you are really desperate for the business, but you're sitting in front of a client that doesn't align with you, that you're not going to have a good working relationship, because it's true, not every client is the best client for you, and they're
Right.
asking you to do it for like 1% or 0.5%, then you have to decide, like, how much is my time worth? Like, do I really want to spend all this time with this client that I know personality wise we don't align? They're gonna make my life hell. Like, do
Yep.
I want to do it for that little amount? And then you have to decide. And sometimes as a new agent, like that's a difficult thing to tell yourself, because anything is better than nothing. And as you grow and with experience, you start to have those conversations, inner conversations, like, do I really want to work with this client? Yes or no? And I've said no to listings because it was just that same conversation. Hey, this person doesn't want to give me the compensation that I feel I'm worth. And I already, from a couple interactions, I'm realizing the type of client that this person is going to be. Because the
So
ones that give you little bit are the ones that ask for more. Like that never fails. If they're asking for a discount, they're gonna be working you to the bone. So then you have to determine, like, how much is my time worth? How much am I worth? So it's a process of evolving as a person and having that confidence in yourself. But if you want to, like, if I could start from day one, is how do I develop that confidence early on and have that preparation? Like, I'm so knowledgeable about the process. Even though I haven't done one deal, I know that I can bring value to people. And then you make that decision early on. Like, I'm only going to work with the best clients. I'm only going to look for the people that really want to pay me what I deserve. And then if someone wants to offer a little bit less, like, it's fine, but make that business decision. Do I want to move forward and help this client at this percentage? And if it's not worth it for you, then don't take those little scraps, because you could put that time and energy into getting another client that really aligns with you. And it's going to be a better process overall for the both of you. Because when you don't feel fully aligned with a client and you don't feel that you can serve them best, then it's a disservice to you and to them. So it's better to just refer them out to someone else.
right. Well, it's interesting because I feel like for most new agents, right? For the brand new agents that are just brand new in the first year, you pretty much have to take what you can get, because like when you're brand new, started from scratch, it's like, it's really, really hard to find new people. And then when you have seniority like yourself, you can be a lot more picky with who you choose, right? So for the new agents, like I don't know, like even me, like I told you, I'm only 6 months in. So I'm kind of still in that phase where I'm kind of like just take what you can get sort of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's all a mindset thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All mindset thing, because in the beginning, it's difficult to get clients because you're
Yeah.
learning how to prospect and what are going to be the best methods. So it's it's a learning experience in the beginning, but it doesn't mean that you have to take on every client that's not a great client. That's a decision that you can make early on. And if I could start over from day one, I would make that decision, because you will burn yourself out working with not the best clients. When if you can be more mindful about like, hey, does this person, like for example, just to give you an easy idea, when I started, I would show a lot of properties to buyers that weren't qualified, they weren't pre-approved, because in that moment I was in that like scarcity mindset of like, if I don't show this client, I don't know when the next person is going to come. I drove, showed a lot of people. It was an experience, but if I could start over, I would have a process for myself. Hey, I'm only going to show clients that go through my process. They pre-approved, I know that they're qualified for this amount. They understand the process. They're willing to just work exclusively with me. But from the beginning, you have to set a standard for yourself as a person and as your business, because you will burn yourself out trying to service everybody when you need to find your like avatar. Who is the ideal client for me? And maybe you're great at working with buyers and that's what you want to focus on. But in the beginning, you're trying a million different things. If you do want to just take what you can get, at least have the awareness to, after you've tried it, be honest with yourself and tell yourself, hey, this is the type of person I want to work with, and this is the type of client I want to work with. So go through the experience if you feel you need to, but don't burn yourself out trying to take everything all at once. Be a little bit more intentional about the business that you're trying to build. I've been there. I worked rentals for a long time because that's
Yeah.
how a lot of people started.
Yep.
Then you go into buyers. There's nothing wrong with working rentals, because that allows those people turn into buyers, right? In the beginning, you just want to build your database of business. It's what you're doing. But as you're building your database of business, be intentional about qualifying the clients. There's some clients that are like, you're never going to find them a rental because they don't have the credit, they don't have the income. So have like a qualifying metric for yourself. Okay, if the client does have decent enough credit, is employed or can provide employment of income, great, that's a client that I'm going to work with and I'm going to coach into buying. But if the client doesn't have anything in order, that's an example. If you're going to burn yourself out to try to find them something, and it's just something that's really, really difficult, versus can I find another client that can provide income, does have a decent enough credit score, and do 5 of those, versus trying to make the impossible happen with this one client. So like that's an example of how, yes, you can work everything, because there's nothing wrong with working rentals if
Mm.
that's what is going to get you started, because a lot of the business I did in the beginning was rentals that turn into buyers that turn into sellers.
Yep.
But choose the right clients to work with versus trying to make something happen that is not going to happen.
Don't force anything, right? It's funny
Don't force
because
it.
my very first rental was a woman who I ran around so much for this woman, so much, and then she ended up using another agent. She
There
ended
you
up using
go.
another agent, and then I basically went to like 8, 9 different places, and she was super picky. And it's like, what do you say to those like agents who like, or like it's such a common thing, they call it cheating on the agents, right? When they use another agent, like how do you avoid that? You can't, right?
Yeah, there's like great things about this business, and then there's the crappy parts about this business, and that's one of them. You can't tell someone, well, now we have this exclusivity agreement, which I think is good, right, for buyer's agents, because that it hurts when it happens on a rental where you were gonna make like, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 bucks. But when it happens on a sale where you were gonna make 15, 20, then it really hurts. Like, man. So I think if anything, the buyer agreement is better, because then you have that security that that person's going only going to work with you. On rentals, I don't think we have an agreement in place for that, or if there is, in Florida at least I'm not aware of, but there's no way to avoid it. It's just a risk of doing the business that we're in. Sometimes you're going to spend a lot of time with someone and they're going to end up either not doing something, or they're going to end up moving forward with someone else. So it's
It's like
just,
a risk you have to take, right?
there's no way around it. Yeah. What you can do is start getting better at qualifying clients. It's all about qualifying. Qualify, qualify, qualify. You have to have a series of questions that you ask. And in that series of questions, you have to set expectations as well. Like, hey, here's what I'm going to be doing for you, right? This is what I'm expecting from you as a client. You have to have expectations of what you're going to do, but what are they going to do for you? So they understand, right? I'm servicing you. I'm going to be showing you X amount of properties. I'm going to be helping you so we can move this process forward so you can rent or so you can buy. Here's what I'm expecting from you, right? So since I'm putting all this work and doing all these things for you, I'm expecting for us to be working exclusively because I'm giving you my weekends, my time and energy. Like, is that something where we can agree on that we're going to be working exclusively? And if they say no to that, you already know the type of person that you're working with. So have the self-respect to say, hey, we might not be the right fit, which is the hardest part, right? For agents in the beginning. Yeah, qualify them and set expectations on both ends from what you're expecting from them and what they're expecting from you.
Well, another problem is that we're technically not allowed to ask what they do for a living, right? That's technically not allowed. So you have to filter, but you have to ask the right questions to make sure
Mhm.
you don't get caught up, right?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, there's like laws and regulations and different
Yeah.
things that you have to abide by, right? But it could be a simple question of like, hey, will you be able to provide proof of income for would it be W-2s or 1099s? Okay, great. You can provide that for the last 3 months. Great. Like on average, how much would you say you're bringing in monthly? You're not asking like a specific questions about what they do, but you're at least qualifying.
But isn't it also against the rules to ask their monthly income?
I don't know because I'm in Florida,
Uh,
so don't get me in trouble.
uh,
Um, I don't know. Maybe in your state things are a little bit different, and even in Florida, I don't know if we're allowed to or not allowed to because I haven't done that side of the business in a long time, to be honest with you. That's a good question. Is there a rule against asking what their monthly income is?
so
I
are you only licensed in Florida or are you licensed anywhere
Only
else?
in Florida. Yeah. So I know laws are a little bit different. Like I know New Jersey, New York, it's like an attorney state where you have to go through an attorney. Here we don't. So things are a little bit different depending on where you're at. So
Right.
check with your state.
Because I'm in New York and New York is a blue state. And I don't want to get too much into politics, but what do you think is like the difference between like being a realtor in a blue state and being a realtor in a red state? Like what do you think is the difference?
It's tricky because I haven't exercised my license or been a realtor anywhere else. So I only know Florida. So
Mhm.
I do know that in Florida, things tend to be a little bit more flexible in different areas. So business just seems to be a little bit easier to go through, especially in the real estate industry. But I don't know in other states. Like, and as an agent, you can't really get too caught up in that, right? Because this is a state that you're in. What you have to learn is what's the best way to navigate whatever the laws are in that moment so I can still continue to do business. So if it's now you're dealing with, like, let's say I move to New York and now I don't go through a title company. I have to go through an attorney on every single transaction. Well, I need to build a system around that. Like I need to interview attorneys. I need to figure out which are the ones that are going to be the best for my business. How is the process different with an attorney versus what I'm doing here? And just coming up with a system around it. Because I think we get too caught up in like politics. And at the end of the day, you have to do what you need to do for your business. You can't get too caught up in that. And in the industry that I'm in, which is the real estate investing industry, because now I'm an investor, I'm a realtor as well. They're very much about that because there's a lot of different regulations that are constantly being passed against what investors do because there's a lot of stuff that investors do that maybe people aren't too fond of, right? Like you're buying a house at a deeply discounted price, you're fixing it up, you're making a ton of money. Well, someone might not like that, right? So as an investor, we're forced to constantly start pivoting. This isn't working because there's a new law passed against this. Okay, what can I do in my business to pivot so I can still continue to do business? And that's just a mindset that a lot of realtors have to have, especially when things are changing. We haven't had to for a long time because things have just been the same,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well, I also heard that in Florida they're a lot more like strict with squatters, whereas New York, like very often the squatters get what they want, and New York is kind of like more pro squatters than Florida.
that just goes into like where you want to own rentals, right? Like
Right.
if owning investment properties in your area isn't the best because of the laws, they're not like pro tenant, then maybe it makes sense to be like an out of state investor. Yeah, that I would definitely before you buy a property in a state, you have to figure out what the laws are. I know Florida, a lot of people in New York buy rental properties in Florida because
Yep.
of that. It's a
Yep.
lot easier, yeah.
Yeah, Florida is known for being good for like for investment properties. I heard the prices are going up pretty fast though.
Mm-hmm. Always. Yeah, Florida is a pretty hot market because we have the local demand And then we have a lot of people that are coming in from other countries, from other states. So Florida has continued to go up. I think the market right now is a lot more stable. We're not seeing as many multiple offers. We're not seeing like that aggression that we saw in the last couple of years, but things are still moving and the prices continuously go up. We haven't had a drop in prices. We have maybe like adjustments where we're not getting over asking or we're not seeing like 20K over on offers, but we're still getting pretty close to what we're asking. There's more negotiations happening. There's more seller credits, more of that sort of conversation, which we didn't have for a long time. But as far as a substantial drop in prices, no, they've continuously gone up, gone up, gone up. Yeah.
Just like New York. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had any sort of drop. So what do you think? Do you think that the prices will come down anytime soon? And also the interest rates, what do you think? You think they're going to stay high? What do you think?
I would love to know. If you have a crystal ball, let me know. With we're already seeing though, like with the landscape that we're in with politics and things like that, there's always things that they'll try to do, especially in election year. I do see that they've already made some adjustments on the interest rate, so potentially we'll see more of that. I'm hoping we'll see more of that, just so we can have like a more stable market, especially in Florida, because prices are high, interest rates are high, so you're only working with the ideal buyers that really can't afford, and there's not many of those that have the money and can afford the payment, or the sellers that really need to sell. We're not seeing a lot of those sellers that just want to upgrade, or because if you're paying less now, why would you go into something where you're going to be paying potentially like 1,000, 2,000 more? So I think the interest rates dropping will just allow for more people to come into the market. Buyers now can afford more, and then there's sellers that are wanting to do those changes from like something smaller or bigger, they're going to go back into the market. So hopefully they go down. We're seeing some of those changes now, and hopefully they continue to go. And I
Well,
think
go ahead, go ahead.
no, and I think as far as prices, I don't see a lot of changes in that, because while the demand is still high, there hasn't really been a reason for prices to go down. We would
Yeah,
have to see
go
a
ahead, go
lot
ahead.
of inventory. We would have to see a lot of inventory go on the market, a lot of affordable inventory go on the market, where we're seeing like a substantial amount of people buying, but not seeing that in Florida anytime soon.
Yeah, well, some people say that when the interest rate drops, the prices go up because they're like now they can afford it. Is there truth to that statement? Is that true?
It's not necessarily like it's very market specific though, and it's very specific to the seller, because a lot of the times if you're a good agent, you're going to meet with your seller and educate them on what's going on in the market and what's the best pricing strategy. But to say as a seller, hey, I want to sell my house and now that the rates are lower, I want a higher price, it's not too realistic. And as an agent, you have to educate them on like what's selling in the area and what a realistic price range is, because a lot of these buyers are financing. So even though you want 1 million and your property's only worth 500, it's just not going to work out. So it's educating the sellers and setting them back to realistic expectations of this is what the average prices are in the area, and this is the most that you can get, regardless of what's going on with the interest rates. If anything, it's educating sellers on the fact that lower interest rates means that they're going to have more buyers. So where the prices may go up there is if you have more demand, you have multiple offers, that's what pushes the price up.
You know what I just realized? So Zoom just sent me a notification saying I only have 9 minutes left.
Oh, it's all good. Any last minute? Hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I want to. Do you have the 9 minutes left?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because I didn't know that we like the Zoom, because this is my first time hosting. I didn't know they timed
yeah.
us. So you did talk a little bit about this before. What did you do before real estate?
I was working, I always did some sort of sales in some capacity. So I worked, I started working at McDonald's. Then I
Oh,
work at a
wow.
clothing store. Yeah, I've been working since I was 15. So I'm 31 now. So I have a long history of work, but started working at McDonald's, then worked at a clothing store, then worked in an office, and worked in a plastic surgery center. And then I was working in inside sales for like a exporting company. They used to import piping, valves, had to do more with like manufacturing. So I was doing that, and then I transitioned into real estate. And I've been here ever since.
And it seems like real estate is probably your favorite job so far, right?
It's like a drug, real estate, 'cause once you're in it, even though you want to get out and you want to do other things, it's hard because you fall in love with what it provides, right? Like you fall in love with the vision that you have for your life with through real estate, right? Because you start off as an agent, you just want to make money, and then you want to buy property. So it just allows you to create a vision for your life and what you want, which I don't think other businesses provide that. So at least for me, and then getting used to working for someone else is not something that I think I'll ever do. Once
Yeah,
you get used to that,
yeah. Once you're your own boss, you can't go back, man. Because having a boss, some bosses are so nasty. And once you're your own boss and you make your own schedule and you wake up when you want it, it's hard to go back to that 9 to 5 grind with a boss, right?
yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm very big on like figuring out what works for you and what aligns with you, your personality, your lifestyle. And for some people, there's nothing wrong with going into real estate and then realizing it's not for you. Because for some people, it's the stability of having that job and that income and just knowing that you have the benefits and that on the weekends you don't have to worry about anything. That's also great. It just depends on the lifestyle that you want to have. Now, real estate has some great things. You manage your schedule and you're your own boss. But with that comes a lot of responsibility because now you are responsible for generating income for your business. So every day you have to be on top of it. There's not a boss that's telling you, like, hey, you have to work today. So it requires a lot of personal accountability. And you are sacrificing a lot of your time. You're working on the weekend sometimes, you're working late nights. So with that freedom comes a lot more responsibility and a lot more commitment versus with that 9 to 5, you come in, you clock out, and you're done, right? Unless your boss is like a pain and is texting you at all hours of the night, which isn't really what's customary. So there's not one right or wrong approach. It's figuring out what works for you and what makes sense for you. Like I know that I could never go back to working under someone else because I've
Oh man,
been on
same.
my own for so long.
You really get used to like sleeping in. Like today, I woke up at 9 a.m. I'm not gonna lie. Where I was a school safety officer for 10 years, and I used to wake up at 6 a.m. So like, it's a really big difference. It's hard to go back to that like slave mindset.
Yeah, and in a way, like when you own your real estate business, you're in a way a slave, or you're a slave to your own business, to your goals, to
Mhm.
what you're versus when you're doing it for someone else. It's harder to convince yourself to like, hey, let me get up in the morning today because you're working for someone else and there's nothing really that's tying you to this company or to this business. Versus if it's yours, your baby that you're building, you're nurturing, there's like that extra push. But yeah, if this is the path that you want to take, then I would say burn the ships, burn the bridges. Don't have that as like a second option because when things get tough and you're maybe not seeing the success that you want, it's easy to kind of say, "Oh, well, I always have the option of going back to a job." But once you convince yourself in your mind that that's never going to happen again, then you're going to force yourself to figure out when things are slow, you're going to work harder and you're going to just find a way because this is the only way. So, it's a very personal decision though. If you figure out that that's it for you, then that's it for you. This
I
doesn't
feel like
even exist.
I feel like real estate takes a lot of persistency. There's this statistic you probably know about that in the first year, 90% of agents quit,
Mhm. Yeah,
which is a ridiculous statistic. Like why do you think that is? And
because it's hard.
yeah. But also
It's a
because you're starting from scratch, right? You're starting from scratch with like nobody knows you. You know what I'm saying? You're starting from the ground up.
It's a hard business, right? It's a hard business because you have to learn how to market yourself. You have to learn sales. You have to learn how to run a business, how to run your own schedule. And there's a lot of challenges because then the money's not guaranteed. So there's a big aspect when it comes to becoming your own boss and you're starting a company from zero, which is
Yeah.
always hard.
Yeah.
But this is your own company, right? A lot of times you don't have the financial support of someone else. So it's starting a business from ground up. It's always difficult. And then there's the challenges that come with it because you may have transactions in the pipeline that don't close and you don't have that security. And all it takes is a couple of setbacks if you're not mentally strong and committed to say, like, hey, this isn't for me. Because when you think you're going to make X amount of money and now everything starts going wrong, you lose that. Now you're back at zero. It takes a lot of mental strength to say, hey, no matter what happens, no matter how many deals that I lose, I'm gonna get back up and get more deals. So the mindset piece, and I know it's like cliche because everyone talks about it, the way to succeed is by really working on your mindset and your belief in yourself, in the business, and your abilities. Because you could be the best agent in the world, you could still lose deals. But then it's the ones that don't let that, discourage them, are the ones that stay in the business for a long time. So it's building yourself back up. Okay, this didn't work out. Let me try something else. And then it's dealing with the potential failures, the rejection. Once you just understand that that's part of the business and that there's going to be setbacks and that you're committed to succeeding, you're gonna crush it, but it's a tough adjustment coming from, I get my paycheck every single week, to I potentially may make nothing this month. So
For
it's tough.
months. I mean, listen, it's been 6 months and I still haven't gotten my first check yet. When was like your first, like how long did it take between when you were licensed and your first check? How much time was there? Um,
Mm, I don't remember exactly. I did rentals my first year, so probably like 3 or 4 months
yeah,
if I'm
three,
being
4 months. And like it's hard because a lot of people are living check to checks. 75% of people are living check to check. So, and not only that, but you have to spend money in real estate, right? You have to spend thousands of dollars. So I'm sure that you probably spend a lot on marketing, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's always free ways to market yourself and there's paid ways to market yourself. So I did online leads back in the day when Zillow leads were becoming popular. So I did invest, and then there was a lot of stuff that I did that didn't cost me anything. I would call, I would door knock, I called my network, I posted on social media. So there's free ways and there's paid ways that you can grow your business. If you're paying for marketing, then you better have the skill set to convert those leads. I think that's, you can't jump into spending money if you don't have an idea how to have those conversations. So
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So unfortunately, Zoom is only giving me 1 minute left. So maybe we
Okay.
could have a part two another time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're gonna, if you need anything or anybody that's watching this, they want to reach out to me. My Instagram handle is Aidelis, AIDELYS _real estate. And they can follow me there. I think that's the same on TikTok as well, Aidelis _real estate. I post lately, I've pivoted to posting more real estate investing content. I'm still a realtor full time. I just think I can provide more value by sharing investing content. So if you follow me there, you'll see some cool stuff about real estate investing.
Thank you so much, Adelis.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I wish we had more time. We'll have a part two coming soon, okay?
For sure, for sure. I appreciate you taking the time. You have a good day.
Have a good one. Take care.